Good. And is this live streamed throughout?
It is live streamed throughout.
Awesome.
We simply do that because of, I'm going to let Yannick in, for video storage. We've got our own system for video storage as well. But if there's any reason we need to take it down, at this point, it's simply a math thing to have it up there. If at any point we need to take something down and crop it, if we say something crazy, usually I'm the most likely to do that. So we need to.
No worries. Yannick, we were just talking, just so you know, this is streamed live, but I'll jump off camera and kind of let you guys get at it. I know that you're interested in talking to Yannick, not me. So I
don't know that yet. I mean, maybe you're interesting too.
Possibly. I don't know nearly enough about tennis for you to be interested in talking to me, but
well, we just start there.
My man Yannick does, so I'll let you guys get to it.
Hey, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, you sound good.
Perfect. Okay.
Good. Sound good. We I was just telling Zach, we do a fairly informal start where we're gonna say hello, see how we sound, introduce everybody. Yannick, Yannick or Yannick? How do you pronounce it?
Well, there's so many, depending on what country I'm from. Usually introduce myself as Yannick here in the US.
Okay, so my point of view is what your mother calls you is your name. So how would she pronounce it?
Yannick.
Yannick. There we. Okay. So can I?
Yannick.
Yannick.
Yannick at the end. Yes.
Yannick. Okay. Yannick. Yeah. I'm from Brazil originally, so.
Okay.
No.
Nice. Well, yeah, I've got plenty of stories of trying to convince children that their name isn't what they think it is when they're here in. We're in the Atlanta area, so in Georgia, the Americanized names is pretty consistent. But I looked and I said, no, what your mother named you, what you're called by your mother is your name.
Yeah, exactly. Just that sometimes it's a little harder to have people pronounce how your mom called you.
Very true.
But yeah.
Very true.
And then it's Sean and Bobby, right?
I'm Sean. Yes, sir. Yep. That is, I say, wait, can I point? I don't know which way he is on your screen.
No.
So. Bobby's down there. There we go.
Yeah.
And what we'll do is it's fairly straightforward. I assume Zach, you were copied on the email of the 4 basic questions we ask. Pretty simple format. We start there, and like we said in the invitation email, we start with tennis. If it goes off track, we have no problem with that. We like to kind of find out where everything goes. As we say, it starts with tennis, but where it goes from there is perfectly fine with us.
Awesome. No, I'm very excited on everything that you guys are doing. And I know how Atlanta is the hub of tennis. It's one of the biggest, I think it's the biggest participation, right, in the entire United States as far as USTA and all the stuff, links.
The math claims that Atlanta is the largest tennis city in the world. Now,
in the world,
what that means, nobody's really sure. So
we have the largest recreational tennis league in the world.
That's probably a better way.
That's where it gets to. Alta is the largest tennis recreational league in the world.
Perfect. Awesome.
Yeah, Alta, USTA, and the T2 Flex leagues that we run, we got a lot of recreational side. So that's probably the way many people miss why Atlanta is so big into tennis. It's actually a surprise that our ATP event here is fairly ignored is the wrong word. How would you describe our event here, Bobby?
Not well attended.
Okay, there we go. Not well attended. And you've got Yannick, you've got some tour supervision experience on the WTA, is that right?
Yeah, so I spent about 9 years at the WTA. Did a little bit of everything. Started actually as a finance intern, and then went on to work on the operations side, and then went into work more on the event aspect. I started as a player relations, and then I ended up my tenure at the WTA as a tour supervisor, so going to events and sort of being the point person for all the operations and officiating aspects to it as well.
So you make sure it runs properly, and you get all those rules questions when the chair umpire's yelling they're going back and forth that they have to cut. Yannick, help.
Yes, that was me. Yes, not a fun place to be at those moments, but yeah, a lot of learning experiences.
Right? Yeah, that's a hard place to be. And I see, continuing on your resume, and we won't spend too much longer. I see University of South Florida. Is that right?
Yeah, correct. So that's how I came to the US, came to play college tennis at USF.
Nice. Both of my parents went to USF, so I see it. I recognize it. That's exciting.
Okay, very nice. Did they play tennis?
They were not tennis people. No, they got me into soccer and tennis. They played as adults, just kind of, again, recreationally. That's kind of what Atlanta is. They get you buy your first house in a neighborhood, and somebody comes and knocks on your door and says, "Are you any good at tennis?" That's the first interaction that you're supposed to have with your neighbors here in Atlanta. Of course, it's less so a little bit now after the pandemic and how people are kind of avoiding each other even at some level now.
Yeah.
But so now you're with Sense Arena, and our first question is usually something along the lines of who are you and why do we care? So we know where you came from, kind of how you got here. How did you get into virtual reality tennis?
Yeah, that's a whole story in itself. But after finishing college, I spent 9 years at the WTA. And had a great run, was very good. And then at that time, after being so long in the WTA, you were like, well, am I going to spend my whole life in tennis at the WTA? And then I thought to myself, maybe it's good to explore something outside of that. So then I completely took a way out of tennis and went to work on a consultancy in sustainability, which was a side interest of me that I had. Did that for about a year and then realized that I miss tennis. I miss sports in general, the environment, talking to people, just like what we're doing here. And then I was sort of looking, for opportunities to come back to it. That was early last year. And then I saw this job posting of, Sense Arena, virtual reality. Went on to look at the company, was all about hockey in there. So I was a little confused, but I was like, hey, why not? Like it looked very interesting. It looked for everything that I knew about virtual reality, I was like, this could be promising. So I went on, and basically that's sort of how I got my foot in my door. And actually that was my third interview with them. With Bob Tativa, who is the CEO and founder, and Daniel Burns, who is the product director. In my third interview, I had virtual reality as my first time ever using virtual reality. And I was just blown away just by the fact of I lost complete sense of space, and I felt that I was on a tennis court. I got frustrated when I missed, and all those emotions came back to me. So that was sort of, and luckily they accepted me, even though I performed very badly at the first virtual reality interview. But so that's how I ended up in this hot seat now.
I know Bobby's got 1,000 questions on the actual technology. Bobby, you want to start with questions 1 through 400? Where do you want to go?
I know we're supposed to keep this brief, but I'm curious about his last name. So where your father from?
Actually, it's my mom's last name.
Okay.
So my mom and my father were never married. So I kept my mom's last name, which is Japanese. So there's a huge Japanese colony in Brazil, actually the biggest outside of Japan. So that's where I come from.
Well, that's why I'm asking, because I have a very good friend who married a Brazilian. He's Argentinian. He married somebody from Brazil. When they were raising his son, he was learning 4 languages or 5 languages once. One of them was Japanese. I said, where's the Japanese come from? And he said his wife's mother was Japanese. So I was like, there's got to be something in Brazil. So you've answered that question. Thank you. So that curiosity is now fulfilled.
No, looks like we lost Bobby.
Oh, too many questions. He had it written.
That's all right. There and there. All right. So, and I've also got that recorded. That's okay. I enjoy the fact that it's not too, it is live on YouTube, but I'm pretty sure my wife's the only one who ever watches these things. And so it's nice to be able to go back and say, oh, you know what? I'm just going to cut all that spit right. Like we got to stop and go do something, come back to it. It's perfectly fine. So this happens a lot. And Bobby looks at me every once in a while. Bobby's like, hey, you made that sound really good. I'm like, yeah, you were muted the whole time.
I don't know what I was gone. I'm back now. But I just gone. I was like, where did I go? Gone.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry about that.
I was hoping, Bobby, you'd jump into some of the technical questions because I know you were originally asking. We'd had a couple of conversations with VR about VR in general. And I know Bobby wants to know. I mean, we all want to know, right? What is this feel like real tennis? Like where?
Well, the first thing I noticed big difference is the racket setup, where the esports seem to be more of a racket. This is more of a simulation. How does I know you said when you tried it, you said the feel felt the same. How do you get that feel when the apparatus is it weigh? What is the weight of the racket in your hand? Let's start there.
Yeah, so there's two rackets that we have. One, let's say we call it small and large, but they're very similar. So they're between 280, 290 grams,
Okay.
which you can, of course, put your own little weights to make it, more heavy and whatnot. So that's about what it is.
Okay. And how does the feel and the handle come through?
So basically what we do, so we have two rackets. Our premium racket's called haptic racket, and basically it gives you haptic feedback. So it comes with a battery, and then it has sensors when you actually hit the ball within our platform, and it vibrates the racket. So of course, we cannot simulate the actual weight of the ball impacting your strings, but it's more that cognitive remembering for you that, okay, now that's where I'm hitting the ball and so on. And I think just to as we go forward, maybe it will help you filter out the 400 questions a little bit. But important thing here is that when we talked about we're not a game, right? We're what we did and how the founders started 5 years ago in hockey. The whole vision was to use virtual reality as a training tool for athletes from a mental and cognitive aspect to it. So, after doing in hockey for a while, 5 years, and got very self-sustainable. We have 5 NHL teams. We have thousands of users at home that use it for improvement of their hockey skills in the end. So that's where it leads us to tennis, because we believe this technology can be very much used for aspiring tennis players, whatever your level is, right? Like all the way from pros who you already have using the technology to all the way to the grassroots, from really the youth from 10 to 17 years old that are just, their brain are just a sponge and just absorbing so much information. So really, that's when we can see the big impact as well.
Well, that was one thing I loved about just going over your site, that you guys are focusing predominantly as a training aid. And as coaches, we subscribe, and the more times you can get the muscle memory, we think it's a great idea. And it's what started this whole trip when we started reading about virtual too, is that, wow, this is a great way to get to the numbers and the muscle memory that the kids need without being on the court, because it does rain a bit down here. So, we do miss some days during the year.
Yeah. No, it's a great point. And I think, what we call it internally, externally, we call the training triangle. When we talk about, I think the majority of sports, you talk about your technique, your fitness, and your mental, right? Those are the, say, 3 big buckets in sports in general, and especially when we go into tennis. And it's very specific, like when you need to work on your technique, you get a coach, and there's 1,000 ways to hit a forehand, backhand, serve, or return, right? But then you get on court, you go through your coach and tells you, okay, this is how I hit, this is how you should hit, this is how, and so on. Same thing with fitness, right? There's a million ways for you to train, but the mental is always very, I would say, neglected until this point on how you train, first of all, and I think what you just mentioned, Bobby, it's exactly what we do. It's that memory, the muscle memory, where people don't realize that muscle memory starts everything in the brain, right? Like, so you can be hitting 1,000 forehands, but it's your brain sends that signal over and over again. So what's important for us is, like, we're not here trying to teach you how to hit a forehand or a backhand, what technique is best for you, but actually getting, okay, we're going to put you into a specific situation, right? And then what sort of it's going to work either on your concentration skills, your anticipation, your reaction, that's going to basically speed up your brain So then you're making better decisions on court because you saw that situation so many times that now it's sort of second nature, right? And that's why we work very hard on that customization aspect of it. So not only the scenarios, but being able to, play on a surface that it's a clay, grass, hard court with wind, shade, and night. So then you also can, because not everyone has the ability to practice in all these different conditions. So therefore, by letting your brain get situated, then we believe that it's gonna, in the end of the day, what our true goal is to improve performance, right? To allow athletes, whatever that is, to get a little bit better.
So you have a couple testimonials outside Jack Sock and the top 26 gal. They've given you positive feedback. Who was the person using it at the Australian Open?
We had a couple different players. I don't know. I mean, I think a noticeable one. It's the girl. She won the mixed doubles.
Okay.
At Australian Open, Luisa Stefani. But we had, Miomir Kaminovic, Emil Ruzvori, Linda Fruvertova, and Brenda Fruvertova, the two sisters from Czech, 17 and 15-year-old girls. So we have about 13 different pros, more or less, that are really using the platform. So I'm not sure who you saw it in our platform, who we put it out there, but it might have been one of them.
It was quick, and I was flicking channels and holy cow, they're playing virtual tennis. I loved it. So I did not know. I do know I saw it was a gal, but it was very fast. So obviously you're starting with the professionals. Have you gotten feedback from the older generation? Because I think this obviously works very well with the younger kids because this is their generation. This is what they've seen. Adults, a little bit different. They need it. And I always say, even with our adults down here, the biggest lack as you take up something later in life, you don't watch it enough. Where I had to sit on the sidelines watching to try to get 20 minutes worth of court time. Down here, they show up, they play their match, and they leave. They miss out on that great learning opportunity of watching. So, how have you addressed it with the older folks, and what is their response?
Yeah, and I think it's important to know here, of course, we're sort of following like a top-down approach because we believe the pros, the more that they use, and the coaches as well, not only the pros, but the coaches that are part of these professionals, but also part of a lot of the academies, right? That's the biggest part because we want to tailor to make sure that it's useful at the end of the day, right? So, so to get into a little bit of your question here now, that I want to say the older generation, I think there's always, like anything that is new, skepticism, right? Like, because especially it's not only a different way to train, but it's a completely new technology that has never been seen in tennis before. Even though virtual reality it's nothing new, right? It's been used in the military, medical fields for a long period of time. So I think it's just more the important here, it's the education. So when actually they try it, they easily can see the benefits. When we've tried, we've been to different USPTA, PTR conferences, talking to the coaches. And I think the biggest challenge it's for them to actually try it. Once they try, they can understand right away, they see the benefits and so on. So, but it's usually okay, should I try this? I think it's just a game, so I think it's more that preconception of something that they never seen before, and all they've seen it was related to some type of video game, right? So like it's educating, which we totally, and that's why we're trying to hit it hard very well. It's try to provide as much information of like why Sense Arena is beneficial, how does it help you, and like what are the benefits that you see in the long run. So it's good, but it's good once they try it. So, I think it's just that's part of the process.
And that leads
Well,
sorry, Bobby, that leads to the next obvious question, which is how do you get people to try it? This isn't just a thing you can download on your phone for $4.99. We got to have the magic goggles by Facebook. And so that's a $500 or $600 investment. What are you doing? Are you bringing down 20 of those and doing events and letting people try it, or you just got to only target those that already have the technology?
Yeah, well, I think one of the good things, it's these headsets they used to cost, $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 3 years ago. So at least we see the trend of becoming more accessible, which right now it's between $350 and $400, depending where you get. And then as far as demoing, that's, I think, two parts of it. The more academies that's starting to have. So, in 3 months, we have almost already 20 academies that are started using already. So then you get exposed, you are your club or academy or whatever it is that you can try, you can start using for your performance. And then we try to do our job on trying to get to these major conferences, right? Where a lot of the coaches are there for them to start really seeing what it is about, right? So we bring our team, we set up a demo station, and then try it, and then it's just trying to really go to these markets that more people are congregated with. So.
Just listening. Sean, do you have a follow-up?
No, sorry, I got myself distracted.
I was gonna say, I just want to make sure we we don't do it again where we're talking on top of each other. Like, oh, wait,
Those two were both waiting too long, right?
I didn't know if I was gone again. I was like, oh, I might have been sent aside once again. Well, one thing I did like, again, Yannick, is that I love the idea, and I just think the big difference, what I've noticed is just between the two companies, not having not used either one, is the way you guys are positioning. And I love the way you guys are positioning as a teaching training aid. I love the idea of the recommendation of get a television in the room so the person, the coach, can also watch what's going on and to see the reactions, which I think, it takes you to another limit, another level, and makes you realize what you're really trying to accomplish. So I was very impressed by that. And what you wrote, obviously you're out of Boston, I'm assuming, is that with the 781, or is that where you guys are located?
No, actually, so the first office that was open a couple years ago was in Boston. That was mainly in hockey when tennis didn't exist. And now we actually just opened an office here in Tampa. So let's say tennis part and also our marketing team is going to be located out of Tampa, Florida. As you guys know, also we have a little tennis mecca around here.
Yeah, I would say. So you've been to Lake Nona?
Oh yeah. In Lake Nona, within our just an hour away, it's Bradenton with all the academies of IMG, Inspiration, right. And then of course Orlando, and then as you know, universities and academies here are endless. Every single corner that you turn to.
Well, I just look at this and think should be such a hit with all the tennis resorts as well. All the old folks coming down. And the great part, you do give feedback after somebody uses it, and they'll get some idea of strokes and stuff like that, which again, for an adult, I think they're going to get a big kick out of it, and they're really going to eat it up. And again, your pricing is more in line with seeing, oh, this is something a club would purchase. Get it to as many hands as you can, and let's get people using it. So again, I liked a lot of the things that you guys are doing, and your Amazon's choice as far as virtual reality glasses. So this is an investment I'm seriously contemplating making today, because I think we can. I've been excited about it. I heard about it about 3 years ago. So waiting for it to get here, and now that it's here, definitely want to try it. Are you guys moving into the technology with the rackets, where you could potentially become a demo station for rackets?
I think I wouldn't say it's part of our roadmap. What we do now, we already partner with some brands. So if you go and get into it, you're going to be able basically to see a full-on head radical or a Solinco blackout in your hands. Mm-hmm. So again, it's not to replicate that feeling of what a head boom or a head radical, or because that's again not what we're here for. Because our goal at the end of the day is for a player to come and train, get back on court and perform even better, right? We don't want to suck players in and just have them all the time here. It's always like it's part of your training, right? So, and sorry, I sidetracked here. So, like, of course, the more brands, because what we believe is in this power of visualization, right? Therefore, if you have your racket within the platform and, you're going through a scenario of, playing on the clay court and you have a match point and you have that approach shot, seeing your racket just makes it even more real for you, right? So therefore, it just sucks in and stays in your mind. So when you go to that specific situation, you're like, I've been here before. I can do this now, right? So we really believe on that power of the more you see it, the more you believe it, and the better you're going to execute it, right?
So as Sean said, how do we get you to come to, how many people do we have to get for an event to get you to come to Atlanta? What makes it worth your while?
Hey, well, if you told me that the Atlanta tournament is not well attended, then you're gonna have to get me at least more people than them.
Hey, that's getting players is never an issue. That's the good. They just don't like to watch. That's the good thing.
Okay, even better. So you have those really aspirational players, right?
Yeah.
But again, like Georgia, I wouldn't say it's that far. So it's definitely a conversation that we can have and talk about it. We're definitely happy to come, and when the opportunity is right and when we have demand and people that are interested about technology, then we definitely would love to be part of this.
Well, and again, I love the fact you keep using that word too, because I feel like tennis is so far behind when it comes to technology. And even when I asked the question earlier, I realized like what I'm really asking is how do you get the coaches? Because the players are the young ones. The coaches are my age that are, have a history of being resistant to technology and usually coach to the level somewhat close to what they played. And, that doesn't help anybody. So I love the fact that, you guys are all about pushing the idea and the need for technology throughout the sport.
Yeah, and you hit the nail in the head there when you said, I think that's what we want to provide more accessibility to players to be able to train in different levels and don't have to find a player that hits, much faster than what you used to practice, right? Because that's the power of virtual reality and Sensorina is that you can create your own reality, right? So like if I'm a 12-year-old one and I know that next year I'm going to transition into the next age group, I can speed it up so I can see the ball a little faster. So then my brains already gets used to it, that seeing the ball a little faster. And same thing, not just as a kid, but if you are at 3.5 and you're improving and then you need to jump to a 4.0, it's the same thing. The ball is going to come a little faster. The players might use a little different strategy, right? But it takes a transition period. So if your brain can get used to that transition before you get there on the court, it's just going to make your transition much faster. We're not saying that it's not going to take you being there and hitting those balls on court, but your brain's going to adapt much quicker.
Well, and again, I think it's because we always talk about I coach a high school team down here, and that level of player, even though from a technical standpoint, not too bad because they've done a lot of drilling. What I'm amazed is their lack of ability to construct a point because they're not at tournament level playing every weekend matches. They don't get the match play, and they go to the certain. They don't have a thought. They're strictly in the reaction phase. So if this would get them the extra reps. Again, I just see it as such a valuable transcending just as the higher level. The high school player would benefit from this tremendously as well.
Yeah. You got it. Well said. I don't even need to pitch myself on this one.
Well, I'm thinking we should meet in Sandestin. That's, we should call them, get a couple free rooms and see what we can do down there. Let's just do it on the Redneck Riviera and have some fun.
Oh yeah, for sure. And then we also have, JTCC in Florida. They have a division in Bose Academy in Jacksonville. They use our product as well, so I think that's also always a close one. But again, like if the opportunity is right, there's always opportunity for us to send someone there and, and get things going.
So you're working with Ray Benton?
Yes, of
Oh,
course.
fantastic. You know Brett Weinroth? Have you met Brett?
No, I don't think I met Brad. We usually talk, I mean, Ray more from the decision making when we partnered with them, but
Mhm.
now we mainly work with Vesa Opka, the president there, all from
I
the.
used to work. I was on the senior tour for a while I worked for them. So I know Ray and his son Jeff, and still keep in contact with Brett. And Brett's on the board at JTCC up in the DC area.
Uh-huh.
But didn't know if
Okay.
he tried to weasel his way down because his son is a pretty high ranked player.
Oh, okay. Yeah. No, they use of course the JTCC in College Park, but then they also have a subsidiary here in Florida.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Good to know.
Wow.
All right, Sean, have I asked all my questions? We got to get him his question.
Yeah, my favorite question, and Yannick, you know it's coming. What I like to ask everybody, and especially we even ask those that aren't in tennis, and this definitely doesn't have to come as an answer from your position at Sense Arena or anything what you're trying to sell. This is more of asking you if it is, hey, let's get, we want to get VR in everybody's hands in the world, and that's what you would do as king of tennis. I get it, but I figured we'd find out from you. You've got some good experience with the pro level players. You've got some experience outside of tennis, and then even coming back in the technology side. If you were king of tennis for a day or whatever it takes, however you picture that, if you were king of tennis, is there something you would do or something you would change?
Yeah, I think first and foremost, their needs always should be evolving, right? And I think for me, if I had that 24 hours that it could make it better, I think it's definitely continue to make it even more accessible. Tennis, I still think there's a level of obstacles and challenges that being, just conceptual of thinking that tennis is not for them or tennis is not a popular sport. So definitely, I think just working from marketing accessibility to just more players, because I truly believe that I'm only am where I am because of tennis, not only because of the network that has been created, but I think the sport in itself teaches so many great lessons from a personality perspective. So, if we are able to, just provide more access just to gauge more of the interest, and I think especially tennis going into this, continue to go through this transformation, how to continue to grab more athletes younger, the grassroots, because I think a lot of times I see that struggle as tennis is aging in a way. So like, how do we continue to get more, I would say, kids in the grassroots involved? And I think there's a variety of ways to do it, and I'll sell my fish here in front, but I think the technology part, it's a big part to it, where you can keep it engaging, right? Because a lot of times tennis may be constructed as a boring sport, or and whatnot. And I think people just understand once you're playing and when you get engaged, once you understand. And I think the power of technology, especially for this new generation, as you said, Bobby, I think we need to evolve as a sport to continue to grab these new generations. And I think, and that being Sense Arena or being other technologists, I think it's important, because that will continue to engage them and then create an interest for them to continue to come actually to the courts and so on. So I would say accessibility to tennis.
And I like that you came with a bit of an answer, because we get that answer, okay, more than 0 times. And we'll get that, okay, you're king, well, I want to make it accessible and I want to make it affordable. And everybody comes with what they want to do, but there's never an answer. There's never well, here's how I'm going to do it. Because everybody wants, free everything and everything needs to be available. But you come and say, okay, technology can help with this. And especially with something like this, that with Sense Arena, you're looking at being able to offer that excitement again to the younger generation, which is a great way to do that, because not everybody can afford to play on the fancy stadiums. Not everybody can afford the larger expenses of some of that training. And this may make it even now, as we picture it, as potentially unaffordable for some with the fancy technology and the goggles and the face mask or whatever that is called. Should learn these things. To be able to say, hey, this is actually more affordable than trying to get there on your own and travel and be in all these places. This can get the kids excited about it, and then maybe say, hey, maybe I'll go out and do it for real rather than just doing it in my goggles.
Yeah, I think it's the inspiration, right? And I think what technology, you know, like I'm sure a lot of people who follow tennis, they go and hear this athletes like Novak or Roger and Rafa, and they talk about how when they were kids that they would just imagine themselves, you know, winning trophies, being number one, and they did all that through closing their eyes, imagining, you know, them being there. So like now that you can even provide an experience that for them, like if I've never played on grass, you know, like, and I can actually feel that I'm there, then I think it just inspires kids like, okay, I want to even work even harder to actually be there in real life, right? And then I think that again, like that's the really aspect of what I believe Sensorina, but other technology as well, that providing that inspiration for kids and really anyone, you know. I'd say kids because I think they're going through that transformation. But even now, me, you know, I played only very few times on grass, but when I put, you know, the headset on and I put it playing on grass court, you're like, oh my gosh, you know, like it makes you even feel like, okay, I want to go there and see if it actually works, if it makes me better, right? So yeah, I think that technology it's a big part, and it's not only technology, right? There's a bunch of other different things that can be done, but I think technology is definitely one thing, especially for the younger demographics.
And you mentioned
I'm thrilled because I really think it's going to gives everybody the opportunity to stay in the game longer during that difficult transition time from where you become a decent drill player to when you actually can transfer that to a match. You lose a lot of kids, you lose a lot of adults that they don't want to go watch it because they can't relate to the strategy. They just know if I get a forehand here or you know, I don't stand there, or whatever it is. But if you're getting them out there and you're getting the opportunity to have to get the repetitions by themselves, which is good because they're not feeling like they're being threatened or challenged. They're doing it themselves. It's just going to help and expedite that phase from the drill court to the playing court. And if they're better going on to the playing court, it's going to enhance the experience and keep them there longer. So it's such an important thing. And it's amazing how technology hasn't been embraced and how it's only been recent that even like Novak for the longest time was the only person who really did any analytics and really did any scouting of his opponents. And, you know, I'm glad that tennis is finally getting some players into it that are saying, guys, we've been doing this wrong for quite some time. And we need to push into the, you know, the 21st century a little bit.
Yeah, I agree.
So whenever you want to go to, if Miami might be out of the question, where can we get him, Sean? Though Cadillac's the sponsor in Miami, we can maybe get to Miami. I don't know.
Yeah,
oh
sure.
My God, that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna set one of these up in a Cadillac showroom.
There we go.
I got it. Well, that's what we can do. I'm going to speak to my guy at Cadillac because he's a big tennis player. This would be fabulous.
Yeah, we can even might be able to put a Cadillac in the middle of the court as a target.
Absolutely. Oh, yeah. He'll love this. We got it. I'm calling him across.
Bobby will just throw ideas out there, and one of them's going to stick, and I'm going to go, that's the one. And we're going to end up on a boat with a car and a Tesla and a Cadillac. We're going to be like, things are going to get weird fast. So it's got to be fun. It down. We'll pick the best advice or the best ideas. But what's you talk about the academies, you talk about professional players. Who's your target market? You're in Atlanta targeting mostly recreational players. And Bobby's always like, okay, we'll do a trip. We'll bring down, we'll bring you 100 recreational players in an event. We'll have you guys come in. So your target market, how do you get there? And is there a way we can help you in the Atlanta market, which may not be a thing really that you guys have targeted yet because you're considering your current target market?
Yeah, look, I think I'll start very broad, and our target market is aspirational players, right? If a player it's okay on being who they are, and which is totally fine, and they want to stay where they are, I definitely don't think. But I think if you want to improve a little bit, if you are on your 40s, if you're in your 12-year-olds, if you're a parent of a kid, I think that's where we can make a difference, right? It's really improving your game, whatever level you are. Now, of course, and as I said in the beginning, like we have this from the pros and the academies and so on, but at the end of the day, these are just, let's say, the B2Bs, but our whole part of it, it's the B2Cs. We want for people to have at their home, right? And that's why we have like this subscription fee that basically it starts at $19 a month that you can just get it, like, and you can just start and you like it or not, to believe that it improves or not, but that's what we want to really achieve, right? So that's the price, and we want to also make it accessible, which at the end of the day, if you put in perspective from a tennis aspect of it, I don't know how much nowadays it costs a private class there in Atlanta, but I believe that it's cheaper than that, which again, it's a complement. It's not replacing any of that. And again, so when we're talking about Atlanta, you talked about, being a huge recreational aspect, but I'm sure with that, when you have a lot of recreational, I'm sure a lot of them are parents as well, which I'm assuming then, you have a lot of kids that the parents, they want them to play. But again, we go back to the conversation that we had, maybe the kids are not interested for whatever reason that may be, right? So I think that's really that aspect that we can hopefully help. It's not only the recreational player that understanding what you just said, Bob, like understand just patterns, sometimes just understanding the importance of anticipating a ball and reacting to it. But also the kids, right? Like that 10 to 16-year-olds, their brain is just picking up so quickly and so fast that their improvements are much quicker than, let's say, me as a 32-year-old that like it's gonna take time. Just like if I go and try to learn Korean now, and I have a 12-year-old, I'm sure that the 12-year-old might succeed much faster than I will. So
Go ahead, Sean, say it. It always comes up in it's the old man joke. Here it comes. Imagine if you were 57. I know, I got it.
I think you're projecting.
Really moving slow there. I got it. So I think that's one of the questions I don't get every week. How can you work in the age thing? All right, I got it. I'm cool. No, but I love it. I look at, another thing from a coaching standpoint, from the fun, is you can get, as you said earlier, speed it up a little bit, and they could make it a physical, because the kids hate the idea of physical training. But if you just speed it up, it's an interval training. Okay, we're going to go a little faster, and you're going to get a little intenser workout in a shorter period of time, get them to do the footwork drills that they otherwise don't want to do. But in the process of doing this, they're not realizing it's happening. So it's a good mask too, a little bit of candy to hide the medicine. So there's so many applications.
yeah, no, I agree. And then one word that we use quite a bit is that what we do is active mental training. So even though you're working on your brain, it's still active, right? So it's not like what I think a lot of people, when they think about, oh, I'm gonna work on my mental game, it's like either closing your eyes or speaking to someone or watching a video. You're actually moving yourself. So which I think it's super important for whatever level that is, that you can continue to be active, which I believe it's super important for any generation, right? So like creating that engaging while you're continuing to be active and while you're training your brain. It's a BOGO.
I like it. What's we'll give you kind of the last comment and wrapping it up. So what's coming up next for Sensorina? What's the next thing that's happening? Do you have anything exciting? We love to say, hey, we got any announcements? We got anything coming up? What's going on with you guys? And we'll see what's happening next.
Yeah, no, well, first of all, thank you for having me. Much appreciated. I think the beautiful thing about virtual reality, it's that it continues to evolve, right? So what you see today in the application, it's going to be different in a month and a half. So we're releasing new features very soon. Some of them that might include actually some pro players being in the platform and you being able to return their serve.
Wow.
Which is something that it's never been done before, where anyone can try to return. I'm not going to say return, but maybe try to certain pros. And again, that's the experience. We wanted everyone to be able to train like the pros do, right? Because that's going to elevate everyone's game. And again, and that's we were doing this in the next steps, and then we have a whole roadmap of new things coming up every couple of months. And the most important thing is that, get there, look, we have also, a lot of things that talk about mental training, how important it is in our website. And if you have any questions, again, because it's something so new, we always suggest, hey, don't hesitate. We have, our number, our emails there on our website, and reach out to any of us. And we're happy to try to make your life easier.
Excited. Is there any place we can come see, a place you guys are going to be over the next couple of months, setting up and showing the world?
Well, we're gonna be in Indian Wells, we're gonna be in Miami, and then we're going to be in Orlando for the ITA conference that they have in May, I think 17. And then in April, I believe we don't have anything. But again, it's always if we can find, especially clubs, a conglomerate of clubs or academies that are, all want to see it, they have interest. We can always have a team of one or two of us fly there because, again, we would definitely want to make sure that people understand. So again, if you all are interested about it, if you guys can get a couple groups involved, happy to either myself or someone will definitely meet you out there or find at least a place to meet.
Very good. Very good. I'm always thinking October, Breast Cancer Awareness Month. We have huge events associated with breast cancer awareness that go on through the month of October. Get you here for that, but get you to come and see a couple of the academies that I think would be really interested in learning more.
Yeah, anytime. But you gotta get us before that because they need to learn so they can start using before October.
You're true. That's true. That's why I'm trying to get us to Miami.
Hold on. Missing training.
I might go to Miami now. I'm going to talk to Sam. I'll see if I can get to Miami.
Yeah.
I'll take a Cadillac to Miami. I'll be there.
Mm-hmm. Well, Yannick, right. We really appreciate the time, and we'll definitely have you back on at some point. Anything new comes out, reach out to us. We'll get you back on. GoTennis is always looking for the next big thing, and the podcast is our way to tell everybody about it. And whether it's October, whether it's Miami, whether we're flying on a helicopter with a Cadillac, dropping goggles out, I mean, we'll figure out how to spread the word so we can. Like I said, things can get weird fast. But we really appreciate the time, and we will follow up for sure. And you are tennis.sensorina.com, and we will make sure that everybody has all that. We'll put all that in the show notes of the podcast as well, so everybody has all the links. And we'll make sure that everybody has your direct contact information, or do we send them to Zach? How do you want us to?
No, you can put mine straight up.
Okay, just making sure if there's somebody we need to send, we need to filter some through. Just to make sure you're not getting everybody incoming.
Yeah.
Send all your friends. Send all your friends in the Atlanta area media to me. That'll be good.
Okay, media.
We'll do that.
That's where Zach matters, right?
Yeah.
We'll have to follow up with that as well. But I appreciate it, guys, and that is good. I know Bobby's got to sneak out, and like I said, the end is similar to the beginning. We like because I can cut us out at any point. And I know, Bobby, you're running off.
I don't have to go, actually, so I'm okay. I got her out of school early, so we picked her up before we have big storms heading our way. Yeah, so I'm trying to figure out how to get my daughter before the tornadoes arrive.
How to get hammered here.
Zach, I liked when you were on the dark screen. I didn't have to look at that Eagles jersey.
Oh, no.
Oh man, where are you a Falcons fan or what?
I grew up in New York. It's much worse than just,
Oh, okay. I got you. Yeah, I worked. I actually worked for the Eagles for 6 seasons.
Yeah, I saw you on LinkedIn. I said, oh, okay, I get it
Yeah,
now.
yeah. So hence the Eagle stuff behind me. Yeah, yeah.
And
Where
like
are you
as
from in New
Sean
York?
points out, I'm old. I remember when Pisarcek handled the ball off to Zonka's ass, and Herm Edwards ran it into the end zone. The miracle of the Meadowlands. So
Part one, right? Miracle at
yes,
the Meadowlands, part one. Yeah.
part one. I remember that. So yeah, I grew up on Long Island, but I was
Okay.
born in the Bronx. So
My whole family's from Belmore, actually, on Long Island.
what exit?
Ooh, you're putting me on the spot. I'm actually
Yeah,
not sure off the top of my
I don't
head.
remember anymore either. That's why I asked. Like, wait, if he gets me the right direction, I'm trying to think because Belmore.
Well, one was from North Belmore and the other one was from Belmore. One of my parents was from each, so I guess a couple
What high
different
school they go to?
mixed in there. They went to Mepham.
Okay, so they're east in Long Island. Yeah, it's because my cousin went to Sachem, but 62, so they're
There you go.
right around in that area. They're
Yeah.
60 to 63. So
Yeah,
yeah,
I grew up
that's
playing lacrosse and played with a lot of guys from Long Island, so I'm pretty familiar with all the schools around there.
I always laugh at. I grew up on Long Island. It's the one sport I never played, and I think the sport I probably would have been the best at. And it
There you
kills
go.
me because a short white guy who was fast, who doesn't mind taking a beating. I was like, lacrosse was made for me.
Yeah. I keep telling Yannick and Bob that's got to be the next sport. I want them to do VR lacrosse so I can relive my glory days.
That would do well in Georgia because lacrosse is picking up and has been for the last few years. But yeah, VR lacrosse would pick up well here.
Yeah, all the transplants coming down here is you got some big time, and obviously a lot of them went to North Carolina and Johns Hopkins and just stayed in the South. So a couple of big lacrosse schools.
For sure.
So interesting, good stuff. And actually, I don't know how much, if you've spoken to anybody at the Atlanta tournament.
No, actually. So if you guys have any contact there, please feel free to share.
Becky Robinson is their head of digital media, and she also does digital media for the Dallas event that just occurred, the one that moved from New York that they just played out in Grapevine.
Yeah.
She handles both of those. And this is work in Atlanta because again, this is participatory. This is something that I think they should listen to. And I'll actually, she starts practicing on Tuesday. So I will see her next week. And I'll try to get you guys together because I think this is something they'd be interested in being a part of because, again, this is participatory. That's what's going to attract the market. So
for sure. Awesome. Well, thank you both. Appreciate it. And thank you, Zach, for coordinating. And yeah, Sean, Bobby, looking forward to see you sometime soon. Hopefully we don't wait all the way until October.
Sounds good. Thank you, sir. Thank you for your time.
All right, guys. Have a great rest of your weekend. Talk soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right. I have like 10,000 screens open. I have no idea.
How'd you do that?
I don't know. I thought I had to ask the Japanese question because I was like, what is it? I know the only two Brazilian Japanese people in the world, but now you know. Now you wonder is that World War II related? Now it got me even more curious. I was like, all the Germans went to Argentina. Did all the Japanese go?
Went to Brazil. Yeah. There you go.
Like, wait a minute.
Usually
I love history.
Out, right?
Exactly. It makes for some interesting questions.
And
so that's good. It seems like they're a little ahead.
Yeah.
If it works.
And they're less competitory. Is that a word?
Yeah.
Competitory?
Yeah, I mean he wants to be a tournament. He wants to be a game where this is a training aid.
The other guy wants to be a game and he wants to offer coaching and lessons. And again, he's gonna get pushback from the coaches and say, you can't replace me with a robot, right?
I love this idea for the extra reps.
Yeah.
I mean, and anything you can do, it's another station. If you can put a headset on a kid, here, you're in this station, even if it's just for 5 minutes, that'll be the thing they remember. And it'll be the reason they want to keep coming back.
Yep.
Especially at that, again, I don't know he said 10, and I'm sure that's part of it. Probably at younger, it might not even be healthy for their brains to be seeing virtual reality. I'd be wondering about that. But if 10's the sweet spot, boy, 10 would be the introduction age for sure.
Yeah. And then looking at the 8 and under group, I look at that kind of thing and I say, okay, well, eventually next year you get to play with that.
You get to do it. Yeah. And it's I looked, it's $399 for their particular glass, their headset.
Yeah.
And it is Amazon's bestseller. It's one of the top 5. It's actually 1 or 2 as far as, PC Magazine and everything. So they went the high right with, who they associated with. So, again, at $400, it gets closer to being affordable. And I really think you can make that money back.
Well, and it's because we do that a lot. We talk about, that's why I like hammering these guys on, come to me with a solution. Don't come to me with, I want to make it more accessible. Because at some level, that doesn't even mean anything.
Right.
But from this point of view, it's okay. He wasn't talking affordable. He is talking accessible. You have access to kind of a fake grass court. You have access to feeling like convincing your brain, if not your feet, at least your brain, that you're kind of on a grass court. So that's accessibility. Affordability is an argument. You can say, I can't afford $400 magic goggles and $20 a month is out of the price range of most people in the world.
Mm-hmm.
But in this case, I look at it and I think, oh man, that's as a workout, wouldn't it be great to just go backhand, forehand, backhand, just working on the footwork and do that back and forth for 90 seconds, and the kid takes it off and hands it to the next kid, and forehand.
Think about it from an adult as a workout, like you said, Peloton. I mean, Peloton, and understand this, and this is, I don't know if you looked at it. Their $29 a month is for 4 people, and I'm sure they also have talked to us about groups. So they were a lot better as far as recognizing the pricing. The big hurdle is the glasses. Yeah. And they, unfortunately, they have to wait. I mean, Apple's coming out in June, but Apple's going to be $1,500 to $2,000. So, that's not going to be the answer by any extreme. But it's, their pricing for their product is not crazy. If you can get it for, you're talking to somebody, you get 4 kids in your academy and say, okay, you guys are going to share the subscription. It's costing you $750 a month. That, hopefully that gets them in the garage twice more a month, or whatever it takes, to go out there and hit and do, like I said, even if it's just footwork, hey, hit the ball, keep moving, do it for 15 minutes. It will be a good workout.
Split step, pivot, forehand, split step, pivot, backhand. I'm thinking right now, I'm like, I need a good 20 minutes of that.
That's right. I mean, I think it's just the reps alone. Again, I would buy it for the club. The hard part is how many people actually have VR glasses. I can buy one and say, okay, are we disinfecting it? What are we going to do?
Right.
You break it, you buy it, because the monthly subscription, I think you'll make back easily. Because the reality is, if you get a lot of people, they're paying. Oh yeah, you're putting it in. I'm charging you an extra $5 a month, and you're going to make a killing off of that. Because if their pricing is, if they're 4 for $29, I'm sure you're going to be able to get 50 for $150.
Right.
So you charge every one of those $55 an extra month. You're more than paying for that. Right. It's just the glasses.
Yeah.
It's getting closer. It's definitely getting closer.
Our limiting factor. And then how does GoTennis fit in? Because this isn't really not a product in the same way. That they're not selling a physical product. They don't even personally sell the goggles.
They sell the subscription though.
But they sell the subscription. So do you have a 10% off for GoTennis?
They probably do 2 things. They probably give you 3 months free up front. And we can either way, we can ask how many months free or what kind of discount, because they have to know their acquisition and their close rate at this. I knew he wasn't the business guy, so I didn't want to go that direction. I was waiting to see when you started talking about where can we see, what kind of events. I thought the other guy was going to jump in and say, okay, that's my, we're scheduled to be here, here, and here. But I'm sure, again, they seem to be a little bit further down the line as far as the business side than esports was. So I'm sure they probably already have an idea. But most of these things, anything with a subscription, we want you on the subscription. So give you a month free at the end of the month, your first 3 months, or, we'll give you 10% off.
Right.
I think those are all. The big thing, I'm shocked is, and I guess it's expensive and they're startups. I'm shocked they haven't gone to this company and said, we want to buy personally 200 and be the salesperson of it. What kind of deal can they get from the company because they're buying 200 so they can knock that of the headsets.
Okay.
So they can sell 100 headsets at $200 to get people addicted.
Stick with what you do.
Yeah, I know.
Stick with what you do. That's like we're tennis coaches and we're going to go out and buy a bunch of tennis rackets for our clients. We end up with an inventory of a bunch of tennis rackets.
Oh, I know. You don't want to play hit and miss. I agree. I mean, I absolutely agree with that. But no, I think that's the two ways right off the bat. Subscription, they'll give something on the front side, and they will probably do something on the back side as well. And again, I think it's obviously they're small. They're concentrating on the pros. You know, if we develop a relationship with a Sandestin or a club and say, hey, again, talk to my buddy at Peachtree City and say, hey, invite needs all. You're spending all this money traveling all over the country. Here's something that could keep everybody home. It's a 400. You buy a ball machine. What's any different? You have a ball machine. So go buy 10 headsets. You bought yourself one good ball machine, and now you have a virtual club that instead of going out to rent the ball machine, go rent the headset. Here's the room for 25 minutes. You're going to get a heck of a workout. And for $100, you get unlimited use of these things for the year. If you're a club, it's a revenue generator. I mean, we've made a killing on the ball machine club.
Yeah, it's not a bad idea.
No, I mean, it's all volume, and everybody signs up, and it's like golf that 80% of the rounds are played by 20% of the members. This thing will be used by the same 10 people, but the other 90 people will stay in it because it's reasonably priced. And for the one time right before each Alta season they use it, they sit there and say, God, that was fun. I want to do it more often.
Yeah. So
we really need to find a place to try it, or find somebody that has it or has the headset so we can try it and just see. Because it's like we had a couple beverages back again. It's, oh yeah, this does this and this. And I talk to a guy who goes, look, there's one question you have to ask. Does it taste good? Because all the health benefits in the world, if it doesn't taste good, it's a heck of a hard sell. So if this thing doesn't do what it says it does, it's a heck of a hard sell. So
yeah. That's the hard part, is we want to feel it. I don't believe that tennis racket can have it feel like a tennis racket hitting a ball. I just don't believe it right now.
Oh, I know. Did you see? It's not. They don't even make a tennis racket. They have a little thing that's weighted on top that you click in. So yeah, I mean, exactly.
And until I can put the sensor on my racket, maybe I put 3 sensors or 4 sensors on the racket, and I'm using my racket. What am I using this stick? And you're going to tell me it feels kind of like a tennis racket?
And it looks like a plastic stick. Exactly. Where do I put my overwrap? Okay. Yeah. No, I agree. And that's why I said, why aren't you talking? I would think some racket manufacturer would want, obviously Wilson does. Wilson's working with these sports. So obviously their go-to guys are Head, but you would think Head would want to be, do you want a Radical? Okay. This is what 10.4, 10.9 feels like. This kind of, I mean, you got all the metrics. Again, I'm not a programmer. I don't know the other side, but as we get closer, it's got to be getting closer to them being able to do this. If you can create grass in Wimbledon, I would think you should be able to come close to a racket, at least the weight of it.
You can't change what my feet are actually standing on. You can make it look like that.
That's why I got to try. I mean, it is. I mean, was it going to feel softer?
My brain looks like it's on grass, but my feet are still standing on the mat in my bedroom.
Right.
My feet know that.
So I got to try it.
There's a magic mat underneath that can somehow waterbed my feet onto feeling like, I don't know.
Well, do you remember the movie Strange Days? It was a movie, Ralph Fiennes. It was the future that all these people became addicted to virtual reality porn. And it's a movie. I mean, Ralph Fiennes was, Schindler's List. He was a big time actor. And they did this, and it was all about this. And I was like, oh, yeah, come on. Same thing. It's like, I don't care. It's not the same thing. I don't care how lifelike she looks. No. You're going to touch, or you're going to go to touch, and you're going through her. So there's got to, so that's, I mean, again, that movie's already probably 10 to 15 years old. So how far is the reality gone? But I hate to say it, I always look to the degenerative industries first. What is porn doing? What is gambling doing? Because they're usually out.
Hang on. Let me mute the the live feed.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. You said the degenerate energy, like people are going to figure out how to use it for.
Yeah. First, how do I get a buzz on it? You know, so
Yeah,
what have they done in that area?
Question, right?
So, but it's coming, obviously it's coming. And this guy's got enough of and the gal with esports too. So, I mean, she has enough of a tennis background. Do you hire them because they have a tennis background? So you're selling their legitimacy, or they seemingly buy into it. So they must have tried it. And again, if it's simplest form, it does, like you said, where I get in the garage and it's more fun than getting on a stationary bike.
Yeah.
It's a sell.
And it is a game to me, and it's a workout, and I'll take
It's a workout.
Peloton, like you said.
Absolutely. And it's cheaper than a Peloton. It's cheaper. So it's a sell.
Yeah.
So, you know, again, we just got to find somebody who has it, find a set of glasses, you know, buy them and return them 2 days later, just so we can try it and get a feel for it to see, you know, how close is it? Because if it's remotely close, our demographic will buy it.
Yeah.
They'll buy it. Again, to be able to sneak. How many people do you know sneak? They take lessons away from their team because they don't want their team to know they're trying to get better.
Oh, I don't know.
It's ridiculous how especially the ladies, they're embarrassed. They don't want to, so they sneak, or can we do a special day and at this time, because they don't want anybody else to know that they're trying to get better.
Interesting.
Well, if you could sneak it in your garage, would you be interested? You know.
Yeah.
And potentially burn 300 calories. I think it's a
question.
If it does what it says, it's a win-win.
Put on your lace clips and get your steps in.
Yeah, get your steps in. I mean, we could dress you from head to toe with GoTennis. What do you need? We get your GoTennis hat, your lace clips, your insoles to make your foot cushiony.
Yeah,
and go do your
be with you t-shirt, and
that's right. Go do your virtual tennis. We got you head to toe, and we'll put a Cadillac in the garage. So there we go. We got it all figured out for you. But this is again, if it works, Sam would be interested.
Okay.
You could do this in a showroom.
Yeah.
You could set it outside. Think about it for him. What a better way to get people to come to his tent. You know, when you're at an event. Oh, here, do this. Put the glasses on. Then come talk to me about the car.
Yeah.
He'd be interested.
All right. Well, I'll throw a follow-up email, and we'll see kind of where they are with, free trials and.
Yeah, just see if you can can we borrow? Do they have a headset that they send out to people that we could try for 2 weeks? We will send it back. We promise.
Probably not. If I was doing that, I would not get in the headset business at all. Personally, maybe one of the tennis sticks. We'd want to borrow, like that.
And they're smart too. They give those, if you sign up for 4, they give that away. Like they make you buy it if you sign up for an individual. Okay. But if you sign up the group, they give you that. So that's a $99 value, they say. So I'm sure they do. But I mean, hopefully we're an entity. If it works, again, we're going to be able to help them move the thing. But yeah, I thought on the business side, they're ahead of the game. They're more capitalists than our guy is. Our guy wants to be, I think, a mad scientist and have tournaments, and I'm all about the end user. Even these guys, I get it top down, but I think that you always go where there's the most people. Most people are not top; they're 3-5. So
there's some level of going to the market, and there's another level of doing what you do. So if esports is more, this is how he builds things, and the product he wants to create. At that point, he's just going to be out there looking for a market for his product.
Right, for him. Yeah,
not everybody starts with a market. Not everybody starts with a problem to solve and then creates the product. And that's backwards to most people, because most people have an idea for a product. This would be great. And then realize nobody wants it.
Yeah.
Like renting out their swimming pool to people you don't know. Like, it's never going to be a thing in LA. It's never going to be a thing. I'm sorry.
I don't want you in my pool.
It's not going to happen, especially if I check the prices. It's way underpriced. But $45 an hour to rent a fancy private pool in somebody else's backyard for my own party.
See, I didn't even know. I thought it was literally like they said, like, I said, okay, so it's an Airbnb that has tennis or has pools, not, oh no, come use my pool and come, oh God, no.
Yeah.
I thought it was just an
No,
amendment
that's
getting
not-
more
I do not
specific.
want someone who can afford $45 an hour to borrow my pool in my
Yeah,
pool.
no. I don't want to know where I live. Exactly. That's
exactly.
crazy. Like I said, I read the very broad. Oh, I mean, because every Airbnb has a hot tub. So I was like, okay, so now we're just taking it up a level. We're saying pool and a tennis court. This is for the very elite Airbnb. No, not that come do it for an hour at my house. No.
In California, maybe. No, this is not going to fly here.
Again, see it as a club. I don't think a club should rule it out for money issues to come in and say, come in, you can come for an hour and play, but if they're that bad of shape, they're going under anyway. Yeah, that's funny. That is funny.
I mean, it's just like I said in my email back to Greg, I reserved my court. I'm like, just one more thing that's not going to work in Atlanta.
Yeah. Yep. It's like we're taking trips to events. No, you're not.
One of the filters that GoTennis is going to be able to be, and it's one of the things I want to talk with you about and kind of define it as best we can, which is GoTennis being that filter a little bit to say, okay, what do you have? What product do you have? Will it work in Atlanta? What service are you offering? Will it work in Atlanta? And the real question is, for anything, will it work in Atlanta? And we take everything that's out there and we aggregate everything. It's the verbiage we use when we talk about GoTennis and what GoTennis is doing, which is we're going to aggregate everything. We'll say, okay, is this going to work in Atlanta? And that, what was it called? Swimly?
Swimly, yeah.
Swimly was a good example.
Right.
It's an idea. Hey, you know what? People will rent out a room in their house. Those people are those people, and they're willing to do that. If you're willing to rent out your tennis court in your backyard, I think there are less of those in Atlanta than people might think.
No question.
And in that case, I'm probably not at a point where $50 is going to let you use my tennis court in my backyard. I just don't think that kind of thing works in Atlanta. Is it possible that we're wrong here and there? Sure. But to take something like one game that says, are people going to log in to one VR system versus another? Well, let's look at the Atlanta version of looking at all these things. We come to it from an Atlanta specific point of view. And is it going to work here?
Right. Well, here's the other part. This is what I always say about John, what he does. Obviously, we're pretty good. We're experts, but we don't know everything. What we want you to be able to do, what we want to be able to give you is the best way to make it successful, or the least painful to find out it's not a great idea. Like, whether it be the sunscreen or I'd be like, I'm not sure myself personally, but this the good news is you're going to reach enough people where you're going to find out one way or the other whether you got an idea, or is there something you could do to tweak it to make it a better idea. So I think that's certainly a role that on all levels that we can fill. And again, it's the fun part about today's age is that there's so much information. I mean, like you said, I'm thinking Tennis Warehouse has got those rooms. When I was asked about the racket, they're already built in there. You can get they don't have to build tennis courts anymore. They wanted to build tennis courts, but now you don't need to. You already have the video room. Let these people go demo a racket in there, in your room. Or does Tennis Warehouse make this something to do with Tennis Warehouse, like a ball machine room that 1,000 coaches have talked about, or a place, come in, hit your ball. And oh, by the way, if you're here, you need shoes, you need balls, because you're coming to a tennis place. You're probably going to walk out of there with something. You're going to buy something too, whether it be a grip or something. Is it going to move? And they built that facility to be able to do stuff like this. So again, it's another conversation when we have that these, obviously the industry, because they don't know half the people we're talking about, and we do. So we're bringing a lot of knowledge to these guys that, hey, when we talk to Tennis Warehouse, hey, have you spoken to this? Well, we tried it. It's pretty darn good. You got the space. Do you want to see if we make that? Because what is it? I mean, the Home Depot, the golf place, what is it called? It's Golf Warehouse.
Okay.
Is it called Golf Warehouse? What is it called?
I don't know.
The one that has got, it's a swim tennis, not swim.
PGA Superstore?
A golf and tennis pro shop. They built Superstore, PJ Stats, PJ Superstore. Yes, they, the ones that built tennis courts, that they would allow coaches to come in, rent the courts. I thought that was a great idea when it started. Of course, then you go in and realize, okay, we didn't build field-size courts, and it's not. Then you're paying too much, and blah blah blah. I get it, but good idea. Short-sighted. You looked at it as more of a revenue source than it is, but it does increase your traffic. Mm-hmm. And again, if every pro in Atlanta who had a private today that could have moved there, if you were reasonable, would have given you a call. But they don't. It's no longer a thing. And it was when it first opened. That was one of this. Oh, we have an indoor court here. You can come work out here. So the good part about virtual, you need less space.
Yeah. Yeah, and an easy sell, but it's a good fit. Is probably a better way to.
It's a fit. Yes,
it's a good fit. Could potentially fit for an adult player and their child. The adult player wanting to get in some extra practice, get in their steps, all the reasons a parent would use it in the garage when there's, when after the child goes to bed and the child doesn't know that the parent is sneaking their video game,
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And like you said, and nobody's getting hurt. The coaches aren't losing out.
Right.
The coach might have to answer a dumb question a little bit. Oh, well, when I did this on the virtual, it said this. Okay. Yeah. We got it. Good. At least you're coming in with, like you said, at least you're coming in with an answer to the question. Yep. It might not be the right answer, but at least we can work from there. Right. But anything that stimulates, it serves as a stimulator. And the fact that you can do it by yourself and improve on the sly and then go back and say, people, because then people ask, man, you're getting better. What are you doing? Now I'll tell you, I've been working with this virtual reality and it works. And that becomes your best seller.
And which is the best thing. I think we go back to this kind of conversation for this area in this unique place in the universe that is Atlanta, where we say, okay, you guys are going to do mental training for elite players. Good on you. Good luck with that. I'm thinking a mom and her son using it for different reasons, both using the same thing that you're using for mental training, but mom's getting her steps in, son's getting his reps in.
Amen.
It's a completely different market here.
Exactly. That's why it's a club. That's why I love the idea, because the club, it's your decision. We got it. Do you want the mental training? Can Jim Harp use this? Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Like you said, does mom want to do this in the garage? Or again, do you think about it? Build a damn room. How much is it to cost to cover 3/4 of the room? Put a TV against, which the TV is a great idea if the coach is watching it, but the player doesn't need a TV.
No.
And just here you go. Here's your virtual room. Put a little softer ground on it so you feel like you get your reps. It's better than getting on the damn Peloton. Why has Peloton become popular? Because it was better than getting on the real bicycle, or is easier and not as dangerous, because how many recreational riders get killed and runners get killed? Yeah. So, it's just, again, it all comes back. Does it work? So we got to find out if it works. Because if it works, I think it'll move in this city.
Yeah,
it'll do well in this city. That's the great part about having 80,000. You get 10% of the market. You're still got 8,000 people.
Yeah,
they probably don't have 8,000 people total yet. They could have 8,000 people in Atlanta.
Said 3,000 downloads or so.
Oh, does he? Okay, so yeah. So like I said, I think that the next thing to do is to figure out how we can get our hands on a headset. You ask around. I'll ask my people.
Yeah.
Anybody got a headset that we can use for a weekend?
Let's do some shopping. And I'm going to take that alarm as telling us we should stop. So.
Yeah, that's Scott Corder calling. This is his second time today, so I'm sure he wants to know about Notre Dame.
I got Notre Dame. You dangle money in front of people, and all of a sudden they do what you want them to do.
Yeah.
Notre Dame signed the application. Peachtree Ridge, I don't have a decision maker, but I do have an application filled out by one of the players.
Good.
And I don't have anything from South Forsyth yet because I'm not sure who to go to. So tell me who I need to